Okay, hello. We are live. Welcome to How to Give Birth with Practically No Pain. I'm excited to have you here. My name is Rachel Moises, and I'm so happy that you are here taking charge of your birth experience and getting educated so that you can end up with the best birth experience possible, which is, by the way, an amazing birth experience. To get started, I just kind of want to get to know those of you who are on here today. We have people join us from all over the world, all over the United States and Canada. We often have people from Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and other countries too. So it's kind of just fun to see who we've got. So the first thing I wanted you to do is just type in the chat, where are you from? And let me know. And I will give you a second to see if those start coming in. Let's see, we've got people from Fort Lauderdale, Brooklyn, Portland, Georgia, Iowa, Denver, Oregon, Sydney, Australia, Quebec, San Francisco, Park City, British Columbia, Nashville, Belfast, Ontario, Birmingham, England, South Bend, Indiana, DC area, and more, but I'm not going to read them all. You can kind of see through the chat if you're curious to see who we've got on. But actually, to get to know you a little bit better, I have 3 polls that I'm going to put up on the screen. So these should pop up for you. If they don't, you could just type in the chat to kind of answer the question, but it should pop out on your screen and you can kind of answer the poll. So the first one is, where do you plan on giving birth? The hospital, birth center, home, or other? And if it's other, tell me in the chat because I kind of want to know where that is. It really doesn't matter for the purposes of this class where you plan on giving birth. This will be applicable to you no matter where that is. But like I said, it's just kind of nice to get a feel for who we've got on with us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close down the poll. So if you haven't done it yet, do that real quick. Okay. Looks like hospital is the winner, which really isn't a surprise. But we have quite a few birth center and home too. So that's wonderful. Okay, so the next poll that I'm going to put up on your screen is, what number of birth is this for you? First, second, third, or 4th plus. And if it's 4th plus, you can also tell us in the chat what number are you on? We don't usually have a lot of those, so it's just kind of fun to see. Okay, I'm just keep that up for a few more seconds. You kind of got to be fast with these polls because we want to keep moving along. Go ahead and close that down. Okay, so looks like first-time mamas are the winners, but again, we have quite a few second mamas and some third and fourth-time mamas, so that's great. Okay, poll number 3 is showing up on your screen now. And it is, as of right now, what type of birth are you planning on? Unmedicated, epidural, or are you undecided? And as I said before with, where you're choosing to give birth, same thing with this. If you're going for unmedicated or epidural, that's not really relevant as far as whether or not the things we're going to talk about today will help you. So you're all welcome here. Okay, I'm going to close down that poll. And it looks like unmedicated was the winner, with undecided coming in second, and epidural was third. Okay, wonderful. Okay, next up, I have a little favor to ask you. Mighty Mama Movement is on Facebook. We have a page, and I'm going to put a link up here on your chat, and I am wondering if you are willing to click that link and like and follow our Facebook page. So the reason I ask you that, and I say it's a favor, is because Facebook has this algorithm and it determines whether or not pages are relevant to people. And a lot of the determining factor in that is if we have followers, if we get new followers and things like that. So that just kind of helps us reach more mamas and just have more success in helping out more women. It should be a win-win though, because we do post some educational, interesting, sometimes just kind of funny stuff about pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding, sometimes newborn care. So it is a page that you're going to want to be following at this time in your life. Okay, so if you did like and follow our page, thank you. I appreciate it. If you didn't, that's totally fine. But no matter what, please come back from Facebook, okay? Don't start checking your notifications or scrolling through your feed or anything. Go ahead and close Facebook and let me know in the chat that you are back and ready to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait a second to see a few people telling me in the chat that they're back, and I will know that we can move along. Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you. Again, thank you for doing that. Okay, so today we're going to go over 3 myths about giving birth that every woman who wants to have a positive and empowering birth experience needs to know the truth about. The first myth we'll go over is that following your natural instincts will guide you to a positive birth experience. As lovely as that sounds, it's not true. And I'll explain why today in today's class. Myth number 2 that we're going to talk about is that you have to choose between getting an epidural or enduring unbearable pain. Okay, just about every person in this world believes that. I know that I used to, and they are all wrong. And myth number 3 is that the more natural birth is, the more peaceful it will be. As believable as that sounds, the exact opposite is true. And if you're going to be giving birth sometime in the near future, then you're in the right place because you need to learn the truth about all 3 of these widespread myths before you give birth. Okay, before we jump in, I need you to understand that this training is something that you want to focus on and pay attention to. I know how it goes to try to listen kind of halfway to something while you're getting something else done at the same time. But this is too important for you to do that. Just close any windows or tabs with social media that's going to be dinging or distracting you. If you have children already, find some way to bribe them or distract them so that you can focus. Go hide in the bathroom. Whatever it takes to be able to be here present and focused for the next hour, okay? And we'll actually go a little over an hour. Second of all, I hope you will participate and be involved in the class. You'll get more out of this if you stay engaged by participating, and it just makes for kind of a fun little community experience here with other mamas participating together. And finally, we have a little incentive for you to stay until the very end of the class. So we are giving away a 1-month supply of diapers. Now, the only way to get your name entered in the drawing is to stay until the end of this class. And at that point, I'll tell you how to get your name in. It's super easy to do, so you don't need to worry about that. The only thing is that you have to stay until the end to find out how. So I'm giving this class throughout the month, and at the end of the month, we'll do the drawing to get our winner, and then we'll ship the diapers to the winner from Amazon. So if you happen to be planning on, cloth diapers, or you want a very special brand, organic or something like that, then we can give you a gift card to go towards purchasing those instead of a month's supply of diapers. So let's see here. Marisol is asking if the drawing is open to people outside the U.S. Yes, as long as you live somewhere that Amazon ships, then you can enter the drawing. And the thing about this giveaway is that there aren't going to be thousands and thousands of people in it because the only names in there will be everyone who stays until the end of the class throughout the month. So compared to other giveaways, you actually have a decent chance of winning this one. Now, in my opinion, it's worth sticking around just for the content that I'm going to be going over, but free diapers are good too. So before we go on, I want to make sure that you know who this class is for so that if it's not for you, you don't have to spend your time here, okay? This class is for first-time mamas who are a little scared of giving birth and first-time mamas who are a lot scared of giving birth. So if that's you, then you're in the right place. This class is for first-time mamas. Oh, sorry, I'm getting behind on my thing. This class is also for repeat mamas who have given birth before and who want to have a better experience this time around. So maybe their previous births were negative or possibly even traumatic, or maybe the previous births were actually pretty good, but in either case, they want to have a better experience this time around. Now, here at the Mighty Mama Movement, we are definitely proponents of natural birth, but this class is also for mamas who are planning to get an epidural, and that's their strategy for pain management. So even if you're going straight for an epidural, you still want and need to prepare your body for birth to ensure that things go as smoothly as possible and to help with your recovery. Also, you may not be aware of this, but about 10%, so meaning 1 in 10, of epidurals don't work for one reason or another. And there's also someone who just make it to the hospital too late to get one. So it's best to be prepared just in case, all right? So whether you're scared or confident, and whether you're a first-time mama or you've given birth once or many times before, this class is for you. And whether you're planning on an unmedicated birth or a medicated birth, this class is for you. There are some women who aren't a good fit for this class though. If you are convinced that all you have to do is show up for your birth and you'll have a great birth experience, and you're unwilling to put forth some effort to prepare for your birth, then this class isn't for you. We can't help women who aren't willing to implement and practice the things that we teach. So if that's you, then you don't even need to take time to join this class. Also, if you're pretty close-minded about birth and think that everyone who wants to try for a natural birth is crazy, then this class isn't a good fit for you. You don't have to be super crunchy or hippie or like totally into natural things. And you don't even have to be planning on an unmedicated birth. But if you aren't willing to learn about and consider natural approaches to improving your pregnancy and labor, then I'd say just go ahead and spend your time elsewhere for the next hour or so. And finally, If you do not like to hear birth stories, then this class is not for you. So I find sharing stories to be inspiring and educational. They illustrate how the things that I teach you play out in real life, and they also help build a strong foundation for you on which to build as you prepare for birth. So not every segment of this class is packed with practical hands-on demos, and that's because you need to build that strong foundation and see how the practical tips fit into the big picture. So this is your fair notice that I will be sharing my stories and other women's stories in this class, and you should only stick around if you are okay with that. So for those of you who are going to stick around because this class is a good fit for you, please let me know in the chat that you're still here just by typing yes in the chat, and that way I know that you are ready to get started. Okay, great. I am so happy to have you with me. Okay, now let me just point out that as I go through the class, you can make comments in the chat that other people will see, and that's fine if you kind of want to chat along with each other a little, but I can't really follow the chat and stop and address questions along the way. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer, just save them till the end when I'll take some time for questions. You know, I will check the chat if I specifically ask you a question. I'm looking for your answer, but I won't really be paying attention to it any other time. All right, so to start out with, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I am here teaching you today. Who am I, and why am I even qualified to teach you how to give birth with practically no pain? So if you watched the video I posted after you registered for this class, then you already know a little about me, but I know not everyone watched that video, and I also need to go a little more in depth about my journey because most of you are at a point in your journey where I used to be, and I want to show you how I went from being where you are today to where I am now. So right now, I am an experienced mother of 8 who has mastered the art of giving birth with practically no pain. I have done it more than once, and if we decide to have another baby, I'll be able to do it again because I know what steps to follow to make that happen. But not too long ago, I was a young mother expecting my first child. I really wanted to have a natural birth without an epidural so that I could have an easy recovery and just have the pride of knowing that I had given birth naturally. The thing is that when it came time for me to give birth, nothing went as I had naively thought it would. I didn't end up having a positive birth experience, and I definitely didn't not have an easy recovery. I did manage to have an unmedicated delivery, but looking back, I think I probably would have been better off going with an epidural rather than having suffered as much as I did during that birth. I felt terrible because I had gone into labor very optimistic and believing that everything would go well. But in the end, I had an extremely long and unpleasant labor and delivery. And the only thing positive about it was that I eventually did get the baby out. So to give you an idea of how things went for me, I checked into the hospital to be induced on Thursday morning, and I didn't give birth until Sunday evening. Now, I don't want to go into the grueling details of that birth experience because I have a policy not to tell pregnant women negative birth stories. And by the way, you should have a policy not to listen to them. So suffice it to say that it was a traumatic experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone. It was the complete opposite of positive, and there was nothing pain-free about it. If I ever wanted to have bragging rights about how much I suffered during birth, I have them, okay? It was bad. I felt disappointed and frustrated and questioned whether or not I could ever go through that again. I mean, my husband and I already knew that we wanted to have a large family, but after giving birth to my first child, I wasn't sure we'd be having any more. Now, the problem for me was twofold. On one hand, I was overly confident that things would more or less go well. I didn't understand how important proper preparation for birth is, and I figured that reading disconnected information on the internet and then trying to connect it together would teach me everything I needed to know. How many of you are out there searching the internet, reading books, trying to learn how to prepare for your birth? Just type yes in the chat if that describes you. And I assume that describes most of you because you're here in this class learning, right? Trying to prepare. Awesome. Okay. So like I said, on the one hand, I was overly confident, but then on the other hand, I didn't see how preparation could make much of a difference anyway, because I believed the lie that birth has to be a painful experience, and that if I was going to have an unmedicated birth, then I would just have to endure the pain the best I could. So I did some, easy preparation through research and then figured that's about as good as things were going to get. I always had the option of getting epidural if things just got too tough. So I figured I was ready. But as I said, I ended up having a horrendous birth experience. Now, we don't have time for me to tell you the stories of my second and third births. So here's the short version. Despite my having done more research and put forth more effort to prepare for them, I still failed to seek out expert help. And I still had negative, painful birth experiences with babies number 2 and 3. But everything changed for me with my fourth pregnancy when I learned tried and true strategies that made it possible for me to not only have a positive, wonderful birth experience, but also to give birth with practically no pain. I learned what I needed to do to prepare my mind and body for birth, and I learned what I needed to do during labor and delivery to manage and reduce pain. So after implementing what I had learned and experimenting with my next few births, I discovered exactly how to have a practically pain-free labor and delivery. I learned for myself that there are strategies to prepare for birth in a way that will put you in control of your pain. As I was preparing for the birth of my 5th baby, I excitedly implemented everything I had learned with my 4th baby and added the huge improvement of using hydrotherapy this time around. So during the birth of my 5th baby, I was able to push my baby's head out without even realizing it. Now let me repeat that, because for any of you who have given birth before, you probably don't believe it. But I pushed my baby's head out without even realizing it. Okay, my husband told me the baby's head was out, and I couldn't believe it. Not only did it not hurt to push out the baby, but I didn't even realize she had come out. I was leaning against the birth tub in a kneeling position, so I couldn't see down there, and I just didn't realize I had delivered the baby's head. So considering my previously painful birth experiences, I was in shock that it could even be possible to push out a baby's head without feeling it. That was life-changing for me. I had experienced a practically pain-free labor and delivery, and I cannot describe how amazing that felt. So let me ask you this. How would you like to push your baby's head out without realizing it? Okay, I'm talking about that sweet little baby currently residing in your room. Just give me a big yes in the chat if you'd like that baby to come out of your body without you realizing it. Okay, wow, I'm shocked to see so many yeses and bring it ons. No, I'm just kidding, I'm not. That's exactly what I was expecting and hoping you would say. Okay, so back to my story. My plan with my next birth was to experiment to see if I could find an even more comfortable position, this time around. So I know I've given birth a lot of times. This was baby number 6. I decided that in order to avoid just feeling too much pressure as the baby crowns, which is uncomfortable, it's not painful, but it's not comfortable either, I would stay in a reclining position rather than kneeling position, which I had done previously. Unfortunately, this is not the ideal position for giving birth. So I still had a great labor with very little pain, but it was more difficult to push the baby out. Unlike my previous birth when I didn't even know the head had come out, I had to actively push this baby out and experience some pain while doing so. It definitely wasn't a negative birth experience because of the many things I did do right, but it also wasn't as ideal as my 5th baby. So as I went into the birth of my 7th baby, I knew I had to follow the formula of what had worked during my 5th delivery. And I did so for that delivery and for baby number 8 as well. And both births were amazing experiences with practically no pain. All right, so how does the story of all my births and how I learned to give birth with practically no pain relate to you? Well, after all this experience and knowledge I had obtained over the course of giving birth to 8 babies, I wanted to find a way to support and help other women so that they could have the empowering and practically pain-free birth experiences I eventually learned how to have without having to go through all that I went through to get there. In essence, I wanted to teach other women everything I wish I had known back when I was an inexperienced mother expecting baby number 1. And that's where you come into the picture. I partnered with my capable and experienced midwife, Heather Shelley, and together we founded the Mighty Mama Movement, and we founded it for you. So let me tell you a little bit about Heather. She is a mother of 4, a certified midwife, and a registered nurse, and she has been educating and empowering women to have the birth experience they deserve for over 2 decades. In fact, she has attended over 1,000 births and counting. Heather was eager to co-found the Mighty Mama Movement with me because she had seen time and time again that women who went through other big-name birth education programs usually did pretty well right up until they got to about 6 centimeters dilated. At that point, things started to fall apart. And that's to say nothing of women who didn't do any birth education at all. They barely made it to active labor before things started to go downhill. So that was in contrast with women who had gone through her birth education programs. They were rocking their births and having amazing birth experiences. So when she saw this opportunity to combine her knowledge and experience with mine to empower women from all over the world to have positive, natural birth experiences, she was thrilled. And ever since then, we have helped thousands of women give birth without fear and without pain, or at least pretty close, okay? So At this point, I've shared my experiences with you. I just kind of went through the quick version of my 8 births, which of course are near and dear to me, and I share them in the hopes that they will help you. However, it's not just me. I am not the only one out there who has given birth with practically no pain. As I said, this method has worked for thousands of women who've gone through our program, and it will work for you too. One key factor in making that happen is to change your mindset and believe that it's possible. In order to have a practically pain-free birth, you have to shed your existing beliefs that if you want to give birth without an epidural, then it's going to be incredibly painful and you'll just have to endure through the pain. But, it'll be worth it, so it's okay. That's what I used to believe, and I have found that most other people believe it too. Just type yes in the chat if you are willing to at least consider that it is possible to give birth with very little pain. I want you to type in the chat because it's kind of like making an actual commitment that you're willing to put aside your current beliefs about birth and consider there might be another way. As I said, thousands of other mamas out there have also given birth with practically no pain. And I want to share a couple of their stories with you to inspire you and to illustrate for you what a practically pain-free birth experience is like. Okay, this is kind of part of the reshaping your mindset process. So first, here is a story from Maria. In addition to being a first-time mama, Maria also had to be induced. So keep in mind that getting induced with Pitocin can make labor much more difficult and painful. But here's how things went for her. She says, the doctor came in and checked me and told me it was time to push. At that moment, I was super excited. I kept repeating to myself that my baby would be in my arms soon. The nurse was so surprised. She told me she had never seen anyone so calm seconds away from pushing. I was laying on the bed smiling and laughing with my mom as they were setting up the bed so that I could start pushing. After 3 short pushes, lasted about 10 minutes, I finally had my baby boy in my arms. It was the most empowering feeling I had ever felt. I couldn't believe that I had gotten through myself through 17 hours of labor without any pain medication and without any tears. Or maybe it's tears. I'm actually not sure what she meant. But it sounds pretty amazing to have your nurses tell you that they have never seen anyone so calm seconds away from pushing, don't you think? Yeah, that's astounding considering how many women these nurses have seen give birth. Okay, so now I'm going to share a story from Elizabeth. Her practically pain-free birth was also a VBA 2C, meaning that this was a vaginal birth after having had 2 C-sections. So let's start partway through her labor when she was in triage at the hospital, connected to fetal monitors, and waiting to be admitted. She says, I had absolutely no pain through most of my labor, but I was getting very tired from the effort, so I told my husband that if I wasn't at least 8 centimeters when we got to the room, I wanted an epidural so I could rest. I was so very tired. It was hard work, but I didn't feel any pain until I was, unbeknownst to me, about 10 minutes away from her arrival. I had an overwhelming need to stand up and squat. Not being able to follow my body's orders forced my mind out of the pleasant cocoon in which I had been experiencing all that was going on. And for the first time, I felt moderate pain, not from the contractions, but from my pelvis. I knew my daughter needed to be repositioned. 10 seconds later, a nurse came in and said they were going to admit me and that I could get off the monitors. I stood, squatted with one leg on the bed, felt her head click into position, all discomfort gone immediately, and told my husband that it was time to push. He ran to get the nurse who came to check my cervix. I consented, and as soon as I got back on the bed and began my relaxation methods, my water broke. There was meconium staining, so I was rushed to the delivery room. My husband ran to get my mom and doula. The chaos of it left me feeling out of control, and again, I felt pain. My doula got me right back to work, going deep into myself. My daughter was out in 3 pushes, taken to the other side of the room to be inspected by NICU staff, pronounced fine, and back in my arms by the time I caught my breath and sat up. All 10 pounds, 5 ounces of her. And remember, this was her first vaginal birth. Now, since you are here at this class, I'm assuming you want to have a positive and empowering birth experience, and that you also want to give birth with practically no pain. Now, it's important that you understand that those 2 things are separate, okay? Having a positive birth experience does not automatically equal giving birth with practically no pain. And giving birth with practically no pain does not automatically equal having a positive and empowering birth experience. If it did, then every woman who's ever had an epidural would also feel that she had a positive and empowering birth. But unfortunately, the 2 don't often match up. The thing is that there is a formula you can follow to achieve both goals. Once I figured out what that formula was, I was able to repeat it and have the same amazing results with my other babies. Maria and Elizabeth did the same thing. They followed the formula of what works, and they got the same results. So here at the Mighty Mama Movement, we call the formula the practically pain-free method. And in a minute, I'm going to teach you step 6 in the practically pain-free method to giving birth. But before we get into the real juicy practical stuff, there are a few things that you need to know. So first of all, your body was made to give birth, okay? Giving birth isn't a medical condition that requires medical attention like an illness or injury would. With the exception of uncommon circumstances, you can give birth successfully without medical interventions. You can have a natural labor and delivery if you prepare and do what it takes. You can do this. And if you're sure you want to have an epidural, you can still do plenty of things to speed up your labor and have a smoother, more successful delivery and increase your chances of avoiding interventions or a C-section. But there are a few things I'd like to explain to you about epidurals. Now, I don't want to bash epidurals or convince you that you shouldn't get one. They do come with some risks and they do have some potential adverse side effects, but I'm not going to get into that right now. If you're not aware of what they are, then a quick Google search can tell you that. Instead, I want to tell you a few things you can't find so easily on an internet search. So first of all, natural birth costs hospitals more money. If they have 2 women in labor naturally, then they need a nurse for each woman because she requires more support and attention. On the other hand, if they have 2 women in labor with an epidural, then they can have 1 nurse for both women. Also, hospitals get paid what is called a global fee. That means that no matter how long you're in labor, they can only charge 1 fixed fee. So fast laborers hurried along with Pitocin save them money, which means that even though Pitocin makes labor more painful and more difficult for mom, and it significantly increases the likelihood of needing further costly interventions, it's still widely used in hospitals frequently enough that it is pretty much standard procedure in some places. Now, another thing you probably didn't know is that hospitals need a certain number of women to get an epidural each month because they have to pay a salary to an anesthesiologist whether or not the anesthesiologist is being used. So in the US, the average salary for an anesthesiologist is well over $350,000. It takes a whole lot of epidurals to cover that salary. And another factor that can really have a negative impact on your beliefs surrounding birth is that women these days are bombarded with other women's negative birth stories. It's almost a competition to see who suffered more. So, are you seeing how our modern society and culture are geared towards convincing women that giving birth is too painful to attempt without medication? Yeah? You're seeing this? Okay. I know some of this is probably, a lot of you are familiar with, but everyone here has got to understand this. Okay. Now, before I go on, I want to make one thing very clear. This is important. Giving birth is hard work. It's not easy. It's not comfortable, and it's almost never 100% pain-free. In order to achieve a practically pain-free delivery, you'll have to put forth some effort prior to going into labor to prepare your mind and body. And then while you are in labor, you'll have to focus and work through the whole process in order to let your body do what it is meant to do and what it can do, okay? I'm not telling you that this is going to be easy, and I'm not telling you that you will give birth with absolutely no pain. What I am telling you is that with the proper preparation and techniques, you can have an incredible birth experience with practically no pain. Now, in just a moment, we're going to start going through the 3 big myths about giving birth that you need to know. But there's one more thing I want you to understand first. So go ahead and take a look at this pain scale. Giving birth has a reputation of being a 9 or 10 on the pain scale, meaning a reputation of being the worst pain possible, right? But I'm here telling you that it's possible to describe giving birth as a 1 or 2, and for some women, even a 0 on the pain scale. So how do you get the level of pain that low? Well, it's by implementing all 10 steps in the practically pain-free method of giving birth. Now, I'm about to teach you step 6 in the practically pain-free method. Mastering this step will reduce the amount of pain you feel at birth. Then, as you implement the other steps in the practically pain-free method, you'll be able to bring down your level of pain even lower. With every step you implement, you'll bring down your score on the pain scale lower and lower to the point where you can succeed in having practically no pain at all. Now, we don't have time in this short class today for me to teach you all 10 steps in our method, but right now I'm going to teach you step 6, which is incredibly powerful. So let's get to it. Here is the truth about the myth that tells you that following your natural instincts will guide you to a positive birth experience. If that were true, then most women would have positive birth experiences, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't trust your body or that your body doesn't know how to give birth. Your body does know what it's doing, but you have to learn how to let it do what it needs to do. I want you to think about your natural reaction when you experience pain. What does your body automatically do when you feel pain? Our biological response to pain is to tense up. Think of when you cut your finger. You'll clench your fist, tighten up your arm, and just pull it into your body. Or even think of a painful period cramp. What do? You tend to pull in your abdomen and curl up. So in other words, you tense up your abdominal muscles. Just think of what a face that is in pain looks like. It's scrunched up and tense. Your jaw especially clenches up tight. Well, when you are in labor, that is a huge mistake. Your body is giving you contractions in an effort to open up your body and then push your baby out. It's not giving you contractions to make you suffer, even though it can definitely feel like it. You need those contractions. Contractions are good. But when you tense up in reaction to the pain that you feel with a contraction, it causes two big problems. First, it increases the amount of pain that you feel. Tension leads to more pain. Now, I'm not going to go into all the physiological details of why that is the case. Just trust me when I tell you that physiologically, biologically, and inevitably, you will experience more pain, a lot more pain, if you go with your natural response to tense up during a contraction. Second, tensing up during a contraction prevents it from doing what it's trying to do. Remember, your contractions are trying to open up your body and push your baby out. But if you tense up, then you're going to be pulling up and in on your muscles that are trying to open you up and push down. It's kind of like walking on a treadmill. You know what that's like, right? You're walking and walking, but not going anywhere. You're really fighting against your own body when you tense up through a contraction, just like that. And not only do you increase the pain that you experience with each individual contraction, but you're also preventing them from being fully effective, which means that you are going to have to endure through a whole lot more of those painful contractions because your labor is going to last longer. Okay, so how do you not tense up during a contraction? Well, it's by learning and implementing a deep relaxation technique that will allow you to embrace your contractions and relax through them. So I'm going to show you how this works. And that means that it is time to get your ice that you should have waiting for you in the freezer, okay? I told you before the class started that you need to have some ice in the freezer ready to go. You will not benefit from this exercise if you sit there and watch this without participating, and you need to have ice in order to participate. So I'm going to give you a minute to go get your ice. Just bring it in a baggie or a bowl, and remember that you can either get ice cubes or a soft ice pack, but you need a hard ice pack, okay? Not a soft one. And if your partner is joining you, then he needs ice too. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick break to go get ice. And while you do that, I'm just going to do a couple settings here. I'm going to turn my camera down because I want you to focus on what you're doing and not be distracted by me. And I'm going to get my timer out, and let me see. I see we have a chat here, someone that does not have ice. Okay, so you don't even have an ice pack. That's fine. Just get something else that's frozen, but make sure that it's hard and frozen, like, a frozen chicken breast. That would be hard, solid. Of course, you have it in a bag for sanitary reasons, but don't get like frozen fruit or vegetables or something that's soft and would defrost quickly. And then just keep in mind that depending on what you use, this may or may not work exactly right for you, but you should still get the basic idea. Okay, so if you're back, will you just let me know that you're back so that I know we've got enough people that we can proceed forward. I don't want to miss anyone. At the same time, I don't want to be sitting around here with y'all just kind of waiting and wondering what's going on. Okay, looks like we have quite a few people back. So hopefully if you're not back all the way, you can still hear me and can listen to my instructions. Okay, so what we're going to do is pretty simple. It's not complicated, okay? Just follow my instructions. You'll be fine. And we're going to do the 3 rounds of this. Now, for the first round, what you can do is when I say go, so not yet, I want you, and if your partner's with you, then he or she will do this as well, to hold 1 cube of ice or 1 piece of ice in your hand. I'm going to set a timer, and the goal is to be able to keep the ice in your hand until I say put it down. So all you have to do is just hold the ice and don't put it down until I say go. How's that sound? Okay, go ahead and get ready for round 1. Ready, set, pick up your ice, go. How does that feel? It's pretty cold, isn't it? it's starting to get uncomfortable and sting already. It makes your hand feel tense and hurt. The pain's even starting to slowly work its way up your arm. Your whole hand and arm are tensing up and hurting. You wish you could just put down the ice, but you can't. You have to keep holding it. I know the cold is getting to a point where it's a biting pain, but you've got to hold that cold, hard ice in your hand. Now the pain is worked its way all the way up your arm, and all you want to do is stop holding that cold, cold ice. And good news for you, you can go ahead and put it down. Okay, you made it through. That was 30 seconds. Now, if you're anything like everyone else who I've seen do this exercise, then that was probably pretty tough to get through the entire 30 seconds. How did it feel? Would you describe that as a pleasant experience? Would you call it uncomfortable, maybe even painful? For me, honestly, the first time I did it, it was painful, and I really had a hard time getting through those 30 seconds. Okay, now I want you to get ready for round 2. We're going to repeat the same thing. This time, you're just going to put the ice, a new piece of ice, in the other hand, okay? So if you were using your right hand, switch it to your left hand, vice versa. And just like last time, all you've got to do is just hold that ice until I tell you to put it down. All right, get ready, get set, pick up your ice, go. I want you to think of a beautiful beach with waves calmly lapping up on the sand. Think of yourself on vacation without a worry in the world, enjoying yourself. Envision the soft, warm rays of sun creating an amazing sunset on the horizon. As you do so, relax the muscles in your face. Keep your jaw loose and relaxed. Relax your mouth and your cheeks. Now relax your shoulders and just go down your arms, relaxing each set of muscles. Relax your hands. Remember, you're on vacation. No stress, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Take in a deep, slow breath and then slowly release it. Enjoy the amazing sunset as you listen to the waves slowly coming up onto the beach. Feel the soft sand between your toes. This is paradise. You are calm. Now go ahead and put the ice down. I really prefer doing this exercise in person so that I can see everyone's reactions because it's always so fun. You may be surprised to find that you just held the ice in your hand for twice as long as round 1. But if you're anything like everyone else whom I've seen do this exercise, it was actually easier to hold the ice despite being for twice the amount of time. So after we're done with round 3, I'd love to get some comments from you in the chat. But for now, we're going to move on to the final round. Now for round 3, we're going to change things up a bit more. This time, Mom is going to switch the ice back to the other hand. Remember, you're going to get a new cube of ice. If your partner is participating with you, then instead of holding ice this time and doing that part of the exercise, your partner is going to focus on helping you relax and feel comfortable. So partners, you can give her a neck and shoulder massage, a hand massage, foot massage, maybe a back scratch, whatever it is that she enjoys and helps her to feel relaxed and calm. Okay, so Mom, if your partner's in place, and for those of you, if you don't have a partner, that's okay. You can still do this. That's kind of an added benefit, but you can still, this will still work for you, okay? Now, before you pick up your ice, I want you to envision that beautiful beach in your mind. Now, it could be the beach on the screen if you just want to look at that, but you could also close your eyes and envision a place that's special to you. Either way, just get that image in your mind and focus your thoughts on it. Now, get ready to pick up your ice. Ready, set, pick up your ice, go. Remember that relaxing beach? The one with soft white sand and slow, peaceful waves rolling up onto the beach. Imagine yourself back on that beach, watching the sunset as you listen to the sound of the waves. You're calm and at peace. Your body is relaxed. Your face and jaw are relaxed. Your shoulders and arms are relaxed. You're sipping a delicious fresh drink. You've got a bowl of fresh tropical fruit next to you. Your massage is releasing any remaining tension you have in your body. Let the tension go. Breathe in the soft ocean breeze as it gently caresses your skin. Enjoy this moment of peace and tranquility. Take in a deep, slow breath and then slowly release that. Take in another deep, slow breath. And as you let it go, blow out any tension you have in your body. Let go of the tension and let it leave your body with another slow, deep breath. Enjoy the soft smell of the ocean and tranquil sound of the waves lapping up onto the beach. Admire the stunning colors of the sunset. Feel the soft sand between your toes. Relax and enjoy yourself. And as you do, take in another deep, slow breath, and then slowly release it. One more deep, slow breath, and let it out. All right, you can stop. That was 90 seconds. Can you believe it? Can you believe you just made it through 90 seconds of holding ice in your hands? How did it feel that time? Was it any easier than round one? I'd love to see actually some feedback in the chat from you. Just tell me, how did that go for you? Was round 3 easier than round 1? And while I wait for a few comments to come in, let me recap how it works for most people. For most people, round 1 is painful and unpleasant, and they barely make it through. Then round 2 is surprisingly easier, and they do a better job. And then with round 3, especially if they're doing this with their partner and we're able to get that massage or back scratch, then round 3 is even easier, and they're actually able to go a full 90 seconds. So that's 3 times longer than round 1. Okay, so let's see. Looking through the comments here, it looks as though that's how it worked out for those of you participating. And something that's important for you to understand is that you were able to make the change in how much pain you perceived from round 1 to round 3 with the power of your mind. So when people talk about hypnosis during birth, this is essentially what they're referring to. So in other words, you use your mind to control your body and actually literally reduce the amount of pain you feel. And the same way you were able to reduce your pain as you were holding the ice, you can reduce the pain you feel as you go through each contraction during labor. Now, one thing that I want to explain to you, first-time mamas, that I did not understand until I was actually in labor, was that the contractions are more difficult to handle than actually delivering your baby. So whenever I thought forward to when I would give birth, I always thought of the pushing and delivery as the painful part. Probably because that's what we always see in the movies. And also because it just sounds painful. And the truth is that it is the most intense part of giving birth. But it's so brief and you're so focused on almost having your baby in your arms that even in a painful delivery, okay, so not the kind I'm teaching you to have, but the kind I had with my first baby, the pain, even in that type of a delivery, is nothing compared to enduring through contraction after contraction after contraction. The contractions just keep coming, and if you don't know how to relax through them, then they hurt. And you're there trying to endure through a contraction, counting each excruciating second until it ends. And then finally it's over, and you feel so relieved. But before you know it, another one is coming on, and it starts all over again. And it doesn't stop until your baby is out of your body. Okay, if you have given birth before, then please give me a big amen in the chat if what I am telling the first moms is true, all right? Back me up here, mamas. Yes, is that an accurate description of birth? Okay, and while you tell me whether or not you agree with me, I'm going to go ahead and put my camera back on because I didn't do that yet. Okay, all right. Okay, I've got some amens there. Amen, mama. Thank you. I'm not trying to scare you with telling you that. I just want you to understand you really got to learn how to handle those contractions and relax through them, okay? All right, so this relaxation technique, that's why it's so powerful and that's why it's so important to master, okay? You're brand new at this, and even so, you were able to see that just after going through, the exercise 2 times, it made a big difference. And so after having experienced that for yourself, I hope I don't have to work too hard to convince you that if you master this technique, it will have a huge impact on how much or how little pain you feel during your upcoming labor and delivery. The thing is, you really have to master it. The demonstration we just did is impactful, but this is a skill that you need to practice and develop in order for it to do you any good during labor, when things get intense, for you still be able to implement and use this. And I'll tell you how you can do that in a little while after I go over myth number 2 and myth number 3. So are you ready for myth number 2? All right, awesome. Myth number 2 is that you have to choose between getting an epidural or enduring unbearable pain. That is absolutely not true. Epidurals and narcotics are not the only pain relievers you can use during birth. But then what can you do? If you don't want to get an epidural, and you also don't want to endure unbearable pain, then what is your alternative? Now, I already explained that deep relaxation is one technique that can drastically reduce the pain of childbirth, but you may not realize that your own body has natural pain relievers built right in that can be incredibly effective at reducing pain. So your pain relievers are called dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, and they are powerful. Now, I'm sure you've heard of endorphins before, but did you know that endorphins are also referred to as endogenous opioid peptides? So that's right, they are a type of natural opioid. In fact, synthetic opioids that a doctor could prescribe to you were created to mimic your natural opioids. Have you ever heard of the runner's high? I think most people have, but I want to explain what it is so that we're all on the same page. I'm not a runner, so I'm going to use a description from someone who is. Here's how Jennifer describes the runner's high. She says, it's a feeling of complete effortlessness. You're in your groove and it's almost easier to keep running rather than stop. I forget about my body and any discomfort disappears because I'm totally in my head, lost in my thoughts. It's almost an out-of-body experience, and the closest I've come to it is in meditation class. You're aware of what's going on around you, but so present, so in the moment, that you're just appreciating everything surrounding you and hoping it will last. Okay, so do we have any runners with us in class right now? If so, just tell us in the chat. Yes, I'm a runner. Okay, we've got a couple. Well, whether you're a runner or not, you probably accept the runner's high as a real thing because, unlike practically pain-free birth, it's something that the general public accepts as legitimate. Now, the scientific explanation for why it happens is that the prefrontal and limbic regions of the brain just spew out endorphins into the runner's body, and those endorphins cause a feeling of euphoria for the runner despite the fact that the body is going through something very difficult and being pushed to its limit. So the same phenomena can happen while giving birth. And the good news is that there are things you and your partner can do to trigger the release of those natural pain relievers, and also things you can avoid that might inhibit their release. Another thing you need to know is that certain hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline increase pain. So it's equally important to avoid things that could cause your body to release those hormones during labor. So you're wanting to release the good hormones, release those endorphins, avoid anything that's going to stop those from getting released, and then also avoid those pain-causing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And you guessed it, doing those things is another important step in the practically pain-free method. Now, you might be questioning whether or not you would have the clarity of mind during labor to consciously implement any technique or strategy, let alone figure out how to get your brain to release certain chemicals and not release others. And that's an understandable concern. But the good news is that you don't have to do this on your own. Your support person, whether that's your husband or partner, your mom, friend, doula, whoever that is, they can help you with that once they learn the practically pain-free method. When you are able to get your body working for you to naturally block pain on its own, then you can focus better and enjoy your birth. Using your own pain relievers to your advantage is a crucial step in having a practically pain-free birth. And I'd like to share what Rachel H. said about how taking advantage of her natural pain relievers helped during her labor. Here's what she said. The things I learned about natural pain relievers helped me be so much more relaxed during my birth. I labored overnight in the hospital, so it was really hard to be working while I was so exhausted. But I was able to stay really relaxed. Ava, one of my nurses, kept coming in to see if I was still really in labor because she expected me to be making more noise for as far dilated as I was. She kept telling me they were all used to women screaming and moaning more, but I pretty much just stayed silent and breathed through the contractions because I had those natural endorphins keeping me calm. So there we have, once again, I just got to point out another nurse being like, whoa, what? You're in labor? What's going on? You seem so calm. This stuff really works. Ladies, this really works. Okay, so anyway, I don't want you to underestimate your body's built-in pain relievers. They really can help so much. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how you can learn more about how to do that. But first, let's get to the third common myth about birth that I wanted to clear up with you. And that is that most people believe that the more natural a birth is, the more painful it will be. Let's just be honest here. Is that what you've always thought? I know that's definitely what I used to think, especially after I'd given birth naturally for the first time, even the first 3 times. So here's the thing. These days, giving birth is widely accepted as a medical event. That's why we give birth in hospitals. That's why we use pain medication to treat the pain. And that's why we have many different interventions to help, in quotes, the process of labor and delivery. But as I mentioned, with the exception of uncommon circumstances that do happen, the vast majority of women can safely give birth without medical interventions. But what's more important to know is that unnecessary medical interventions often cause problems during labor, which leads to increased pain as well as the need for more interventions. So I'm not talking about having a doctor attend your birth or giving birth in the hospital or anything like that. I'm talking about things such as using Pitocin, vacuum forceps, or other medical interventions. Now, it might be hard for you to believe, but the more natural your labor is, the less painful it will be. Now, this one topic would require an entire class dedicated to just this alone in order to teach you everything about it. But I want to paint the big picture for you so that you get an idea of how this works. So let's talk about Phoebe. Phoebe is past her due date by 1 week. She isn't high risk and she isn't having any complications, but she is sick and tired of being pregnant. And her doctor's leaving on vacation in 2 days, so the two of them decided this would be a good time to induce her labor. So she goes in the next morning to be induced. And first things first, she gets hooked up to an IV. They start out with some progesterone to see if that will kickstart her labor. It does get some contractions going, but after a few hours, it's clear that her labor isn't going anywhere. She's been walking around since that makes her contractions stronger and more regular, but now the doctor suggests starting with Pitocin, which means she'll need to be hooked up to the monitor to ensure that the baby isn't in distress. So if you didn't know, Pitocin brings increased risk for fetal distress, so most hospitals require continuous fetal monitoring while on Pitocin. So now she's strapped to the bed and can no longer walk around to encourage those contractions. She's not real comfortable, especially since she's stuck lying on her back and she happens to be having back labor, which hurts a lot more when you're in that position. And not to mention the fact that staying in that position will also ensure that baby stays in the position that's causing the back labor in the first place. So here she is with several avoidable factors increasing her pain rather than having a whole bunch of factors helping her cope with it. First of all, she's having Pitocin-induced contractions. Second, she's lying on her back and can't move to a more comfortable position. Third, she can't take measures to speed things along, such as walking. Fourth, she's not benefiting from the natural release of oxytocin and other endorphins that she could be taking advantage of if her contractions were natural. Fifth, her stress levels are increasing and she is getting more and more tense by the minute, which, as you can now testify, is increasing her pain. And on top of all of this, her labor isn't really progressing much and the doctors have already started discussing a C-section. So all of these factors were directly caused by the fact that Phoebe is being induced for convenience. All of these factors are unnatural and they could all be solved simply by having a natural labor. Notice I didn't just say an unmedicated labor, I said a natural labor where nothing is impeding the body's natural process of giving birth. So this story that I just shared with you is one of many illustrations that I could give to show how having a more natural birth leads to less pain and how having a less natural birth leads to more pain. But I do need to point out that indeed there are times when labor must be induced or when other medical interventions are necessary, beneficial and even life-saving, okay? When that is the case, it's a blessing that we have those interventions. However, we advocate for going into labor on your own whenever possible, and we advocate avoiding any kind of intervention that is not medically necessary. It's also important to know that even when medical interventions are necessary, so let's say that you do have to be induced, there are things you can do to ensure that you will still have a positive birth experience and keep the pain to a point where it's manageable, okay? I don't want to scare you with this story. I myself have been induced for almost all of my births, okay, and I've still had practically pain-free ones. But I do want you to understand that it's really important to be educated about potential interventions you could face so that you can advocate for yourself if your doctor tries to get you to agree to an intervention that's not medically necessary. And I assure you that that happens all the time. Another thing that is really important is that you do all you can to reduce your chances of needing an intervention to begin with. Properly preparing your body and mind for labor and delivery will drastically reduce the chances that you will have a medical need for interventions. Being able to avoid complications and necessary interventions altogether is a huge blessing. Now, when it comes to birth, there are things that are out of your control, and that's something you need to accept. But it's empowering to take control of the things you can control. When women do all they can to prepare well for their birth, then they have better outcomes. A much higher percentage of them are able to give birth completely naturally without medical interventions getting in the way. And when interventions do become necessary, they're able to accept them a lot easier and be grateful for them because they know that they did their part. They don't have regrets about it because they know that they did all they could, and that gives them peace even when things don't go as planned. Now, I'd like to share a success story with you of how I was able to avoid being induced with my fourth baby, even though I had been induced 10 days overdue for my first 3 babies, and my body just seems to not go into labor on its own. As you know, my fourth baby was my first positive birth experience, and that's because it was the first time I implemented most of the steps in the practically pain-free method. So step 3 is to prepare your uterus and cervix for birth. I did all the things that we teach in the practically pain-free method to prepare my uterus and cervix for birth. And I'm not going over the entire step 3 in this class. I'm just sharing this story to illustrate the fact that more natural births are easier and better. So when my due date rolled around, my cervix was already soft and fully effaced because I had used natural approaches to prepare my body for birth. That's in contrast to my first 3 births when I went in to be induced 10 days past my due date and my cervix was still hard and tight and not at all ready to open up. It's like my body thought it was never going to actually have to give birth or something. So with my fourth birth, I went in to be checked 3 days past my due date, and they told me that I was already dilated to 4 centimeters. That was amazing news to hear. I had not started labor, but I had already dilated nearly halfway. And of course, that was without any pain at all because I wasn't even in labor yet. Since, I had always been induced and been closed like that, I just had to endure hours and hours of difficult contractions before making it to 4 centimeters. So this experience was completely different and almost miraculous. All of the things I had done to get my cervix to soften and to get my body to start opening up had worked. So the next day, I went to bed feeling relaxed and tired, and around 1 a.m., my toddler woke me up, and I realized that I was having frequent contractions with practically no break in between the contractions. Even so, I was doing such a great job relaxing through them using the technique that I taught you today. I had totally mastered it, that they honestly didn't hurt at all. I got up to go to the bathroom and was pleasantly surprised to find that I could easily touch my baby's head. I was completely open, and the baby was pretty much ready to come out. Now, a wiser woman would have called her healthcare provider at that point, but I had not felt any pain yet, so I honestly thought I couldn't be anywhere near giving birth because after the experience with my previous 3 babies, I assumed I had to go through significant pain and suffering before my baby would be ready to come out. So instead of calling my midwife, I drew myself a bath. And after I'd been there for a while, my husband came in and suggested that we should have my sister come over since she was going to watch our children while I went to give birth. I agreed, but it wasn't because I thought I'd be giving birth anytime soon. It was just because I knew she was probably still awake, and so it'd be easier for her to just come sleep at my house rather than get a call from me in a few hours. When she got there, I decided to get out of the tub to say goodnight before she went to bed. And immediately upon stepping out of that water, I had a strong, hard contraction. It was the first contraction that was difficult for me to get through, and it completely caught me off guard. I'd been relaxing so well that I did not realize how strong they had gotten. So at this point, I finally realized that it was time to give birth. And to make a long story short, we rushed to the birth center and barely got there in time for the baby to come out. And for the first time in my life, I managed to give birth with practically no pain. I am 100% convinced that if I had stayed in my tub at home and just given birth there, I would have had a completely pain-free delivery. And I probably would have given birth before I ever thought it was time to call a midwife. So that was just an incredible experience for me. I had finally gone into labor on my own. I had completely dilated to 10 centimeters before I ever got a contraction that I had to work to relax through. And the only reason that I had some more difficult contractions was because I was rushing to get to the birth center, before my baby came out. So I had given birth with practically no pain. And this birth experience was a turning point in my life. All of my births after that one were positive and wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have learned how to give unmedicated birth in a way that isn't full of pain and suffering, but rather is positive and empowering. And the things I did, to make my fourth birth experience so completely different than my previous births are time-tested and proven. I'm so sad I didn't learn those techniques back when I was pregnant with my first baby. Now, you may be thinking, I'm not strong and I have a really low pain tolerance, so it may have worked for you, but I don't think it will work for me. I hope I can give birth without an epidural, but I just don't know if I'll be able to do it. Well, let me tell you that I have no particularly impressive ability to handle pain. I'm a very normal person when it comes to pain tolerance. It's not about your pain tolerance or how strong you are. It's all about following the steps to prepare your mind and body for birth and then implementing the necessary strategies during your labor and delivery to make this happen. In other words, it's about following the practically pain-free method and doing exactly what worked for me and what has worked for so many other women as well. My experience of not realizing that I was in active labor is a very common theme among women in the Mighty Mama movement. We always having women share their birth stories of how they had no idea they were so close to giving birth, or that the people around them, their partners or the nurses or doctors, didn't believe that they were anywhere near delivering their babies because they were so calm and not acting like a typical woman who's in active labor. Okay. Are you still with me? Yes? Yes? Okay, great. I know we've covered quite a lot, and I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with so much information. But let me just kind of go over another thing that you might be thinking, and that is that this all sounds great, but you just don't believe it could work for you. You don't believe that going more natural would reduce your pain, or that you could actually get your body to release natural pain relievers, or that natural pain relievers could actually be effective, or that you could really relax your contractions well enough to make them be practically pain-free. Okay, I can understand you feeling that way, because after giving birth to my third baby, I gave up hope that I could ever have a positive birth experience. And I decided that the next time around, I would just get an epidural and be done with it all. But then I found myself pregnant with my fourth child and without insurance. So I had to consider giving birth with a midwife because it was significantly less expensive than a hospital birth. That small detail was the launch pad that led to my learning how to give birth with practically no pain. And I'm actually really grateful that I was sort of forced into that corner, because it opened an entire world of natural birth that I had never explored before. I had given unmedicated birth, but not natural birth. And I'm so grateful to Heather for teaching me so many things that I implemented during my fourth pregnancy and during my labor that completely changed my birth experience and my perspective on birth. I went from having had horrible, painful births to practically pain-free ones, because I learned from Heather and other experts to whom she directed me. And then I went on to learn even more from my own experience over the course of my next 4 births. And now Heather and I have combined forces and put our expertise and experience together to create the ultimate tool women need to learn to give birth with practically no pain and really make it happen. So we are here to guide you every step of the way with our practically pain-free method that, if you follow, will help you have an amazing birth experience with practically no pain. Now, before I go on, I want to let you know that I'm just about done. And remember that everyone who stays until the very end will get their name in the drawing to win a month's supply of diapers. I hope you feel that I've given you a lot of value and that joining this class was worth your time as an investment in yourself. And if you're okay with that, I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you about an amazing offer that we have put together exclusively for women who've joined this virtual class. Here at the Mighty Mama Movement, we have a comprehensive birth course that teaches you all 10 steps in the practically pain-free method, as well as everything else you need to know about pregnancy and birth. So I've given you, a taste and walked you through step 6 in that method and helped teach you some foundational information about those 3 myths to help you understand that and get clarity on that. But there's more to learn. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about the course and about this special offer that we have going on right now. But before I do that, I want to say that if it offends you that I wasn't able to teach you everything you need to know about giving birth during this 1-hour class, or, if it bothers you that a comprehensive course isn't free like this class was, because it takes a ton of resources of time and money, plus education and experience, and a lot of sacrifice on our part to make this available to you. So if you find that bothersome, then you don't need to stick around for the next 10 minutes or so. On the other hand, if you're okay with getting details about this special offer for an amazing package that we have for you today, then stay with me and I'll be happy to tell you about it. Okay, so do you want to hear the offer? Do I have your permission to tell you about it? Just tell me yes in the chat if you want to know what the offer is. I want to see some yeses here. Okay, all right then. First of all, here's what you can expect from our Practically Pain-Free Birth course. As I said, we teach you all 10 steps in the practically pain-free method to giving birth, which means that after learning that, you will know everything you need to prepare your mind and body for birth and everything you need to do during labor. And after you learn all of this, you will be empowered and ready to give birth with practically no pain. Now, not everything about pregnancy and birth has to do with pain reduction, so we'll also teach you everything else you need to know in general about pregnancy and birth, from how to handle morning sickness and just other common pregnancy ailments like gas, reflux, and just there's so many of them, to how your husband or partner can support you during labor, to how to determine whether or not a suggested intervention is medically necessary, to what to do immediately after birth to jumpstart your recovery. This course really teaches you everything you need to know to be ready for the big day. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'd like to share a few testimonials that we have received from Mighty Mamas who have gone through our program and used the practically pain-free method in their births. And I'm going to go ahead and just put my camera out of the way for a second so that I'm not in the way of this information for you. And let's go on to what Jenny told us. Okay, she said, "Hi, mamas. I'm so proud of my birth last Tuesday. I've never handled my pain well or managed to be able to catch my baby in my previous 2 births. This course has really helped. Thank you, Rachel and Heather, for your words of wisdom. When it came time for transition, I did find the pain to be intense, but not feeling like I wasn't in control. I was vocal, but not screaming my head off as per usual, and the woman in the next room. When I felt the baby coming through, I instinctively flipped on my back and felt her head. I hadn't discussed wanting to catch my baby with my midwives because I honestly didn't think I could do it. But that moment of feeling her head, I never felt more empowered. I want you mamas to know that you got this, even if you doubt yourself." And then we have Samantha here, who was a first-time mom, and she said, "I loved my labor. I had a great labor. As a first-time mom, I was super nervous about what contractions were going to be like and what the whole experience was going to bring and how I was going to handle it. And I just feel like through the training and the relaxation techniques, I was able to feel in control of my labor and really enjoy the process. I definitely had a practically pain-free birth experience." And now here's an experience from another first-time mama, Nicola, who said that she was pretty skeptical about purchasing a course because where she lives in the UK, there are a lot of free resources available, but she decided to get the course anyway, and she's so glad she did. Here's what she said. "The result for me for my birth, I'm a first-time mom, I was terrified. I had no idea what I was walking into, and the result for me from using the course is that I was able to have the birth that I planned. I was able to avoid the epidural and other pain medication, and my labor was thankfully really short. So I definitely think that this course is just so key, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's pregnant, not only a first-time mom, but especially for first-time moms." Now, Amy here was also a bit skeptical at first about whether or not purchasing this course would be worth it because this was her 3rd birth and she was sure she had nothing more to learn. But she actually ended up going through the entire course 3 times as she prepared for her birth. Here's what she said. "The result of this course for me was my beautiful baby girl and an unmedicated, genuinely almost pain-free birth experience. I labored at home peacefully for 3 hours, left to the hospital, and within 30 minutes of arriving, my baby girl was in my arms. It was the wildest, most powerful birth experience I could have dreamed of, and I wouldn't want it any other way. It was absolutely incredible. I wholeheartedly recommend this course to all moms to be, whether this is your first child or not. The information that I learned helped me have the birth experience that I've always wanted." Now, I'm sharing these testimonies with you because I want you to hear what our actual Mighty Mamas who've taken the course have to say about it instead of asking you to just trust what I have to say about my own course. But let's wrap up with just one more. This is an experience from Mumina, who preferred I not share her picture publicly, which of course I completely respect. Here's what she said. "I'm writing this post to share my recently had positive birth experience, which I almost wholly credit to this movement. I was introduced to this movement in the last trimester of my 2nd pregnancy, and so I had my first traumatic birth to compare and contrast as I started this journey. We arrived at the hospital at 1:10 p.m., and after 3 contractions, my water broke at the registration desk. I immediately felt baby's pressure and knew I would need to push soon. Soon after, I was in the birthing position of my choice, and within a few pushes, my baby's head was out. At the next contraction, my midwife advised that I breathe through it instead of pushing to minimize the risk of tearing. I was able to do so because, thanks to this movement, I had already trained myself to positively manage contractions. At the next one, I had a final push and my baby's body came out. The nurses and midwives couldn't stop marveling at how restrained I was during the labor and birthing process, especially since it was 100% natural. I always wanted a completely natural labor, and I got it too, but I didn't know I could have such a positive experience. This movement has changed my life in this way, and I'm so grateful to have come across it." So, the practically pain-free method to giving birth works, and it's working for women in the Mighty Mama movement every day. Now, let's talk about for whom this course is designed. This course is for all pregnant women, whether you're a first-time mom, a repeat mom, low risk, high risk, going unmedicated, planning on an epidural, or anything else. This will work for any pregnant woman who will be giving birth. Now, you might be thinking it's not worth taking this course because you can just find everything you need to know on the internet for free, right? Well, it's true, there is free information out there. I mean, today I taught you quite a bit of information and taught you the relaxation technique for free. So perhaps you could take what you learned today and then go searching for more free information and see how that goes for you. That's what I did with my first 3 births, so I can understand where you're coming from if that's your plan. But That's also exactly why I don't recommend that approach for you. This course is really for women who value their time and feel that they would prefer to purchase a comprehensive course where they can get all of the information and training they need in one package from experts who know what they're talking about and who can teach them step by step how to achieve their goal of having a practically pain-free birth. Okay, these women don't want to be guessing. They don't want to be hoping they've learned the right information, and they don't want to be experimenting with unproven approaches to birth preparation. They prefer to get the formula of what works, to follow the formula, and to get the results. So let's go over all that we're including in our course for you, actually in this package, so that you can determine, if this would be a good route for you to take in your birth preparation. All right. So first, like I said, you're going to have full access to our entire practically pain-free birth course that teaches you the practically pain-free method of giving birth and everything else you need to know about pregnancy and birth. And then we're also including our Mighty Mama Secret Guidebook to Preparing for Birth, access to the Mighty Mama Movement exclusive Facebook group. We will include guided practice sessions to help you master the hypnosis relaxation technique, how to move baby out of breech position, extended content, my birth action plan easy access guide, and monthly live Q&A sessions with a certified midwife. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what each of these things is so that you understand what you're getting in this package. Our Mighty Mama Secrets Guidebook to Preparing for Birth allows you to easily review and practice all the information and techniques in the Practically Pain-Free Birth course so that you can just quickly reference that when you don't want to take the time to go back and find information in the lectures. In the Facebook group, you'll be able to ask questions to Heather and me as well as other Mighty Mamas, get continuing birth education on a variety of topics, and read positive birth stories, which can be so helpful in preparing you for labor. We have more amazing birth stories in that group than you will ever have time to read. I've got to say that this is the best mama group out there. It's so much better than any free group you could ever find. Not just anyone can join the group, and the women who are in it have just fully embraced the practically pain-free method, and they know what they're talking about. On top of that, it's just by far the most positive birth group you will find anywhere. Many women have commented that they would have joined the Mighty Mama movement just for this group alone. All right, with the guided practice exercises to help you master the hypnosis relaxation technique, you'll be able to master the technique that I demonstrated for you today and get so good at it that you'll be able to get through your longest, hardest contractions like the Mighty Mama you are. You still have more to learn, you still need to practice, and we'll guide you through the process and help you get there. The How to Move Baby Out of Breech Position extended content is a live demonstration with the mama to teach you all of your options of what to do if your baby is breeched. It's quite common for a woman to automatically schedule a C-section when she finds out her baby's breeched, but we teach you everything you can do to try to avoid that C-section. The My Birth Action Plan Easy Access Guide will remind you of all the things you learned in the course that you'll need to keep in mind throughout labor. It's kind of like a cheat sheet to have the most important information at your fingertips while in labor. And we've found that our mama's partners are especially appreciative to have this handy during labor to remind them what to expect and what they're supposed to be doing. And then finally, the monthly live Q&A sessions with a certified midwife is a time when you can ask all of your questions and get answers live. So as you go through the course, if any questions come up or you'd like more in-depth information about anything we teach you, you can bring your questions to the live Q&A sessions and get answers. When I was in your place, I didn't have any of this available to me. Despite all my research, I didn't know there were proven things I could do to reduce pain during birth. I learned all this bit by bit, here a little and there a little, over the course of multiple pregnancies. But Heather and I have put it all together in one comprehensive course and included all of the tools you need to succeed so that you don't have to go through all that I went through to learn this. A lot of times when people sell you courses online, they like to tell you how much time and money that this offer is going to save you. Well, this offer will save you time and money, but that's not the point. We created all this because we wanted to save women from having negative, painful birth experiences. Each time you give birth is a special once-in-a-lifetime experience. You can never go back and change how things went, and you'll never forget what the experience was like. You can't change the past, so we're here to help you change the future and avoid the regrets and even trauma that many women experience during birth. We want you to have an amazing birth experience that you will enjoy while giving birth, and that you will always look back on as a cherished, amazing high in your life. The value of money and time saved is nothing compared to the value of having an empowering, exhilarating experience, bringing your sweet baby out of your womb and into this world. Please trust me when I say that it is possible to have this type of experience giving birth. I've done it and many other women have as well. You can too after you learn what you need to do to make this possible. Now, how much is that worth to you? I don't know any woman who would put a monetary value on that, but if you add up everything I'm including here, it's easily worth $997. However, that's not how much we're charging today. We can't give everything away for free. After all, it takes resources to keep the Mighty Mama movement going. But we still do our best to keep our costs down in order to make this available to as many women as possible. And for that reason, we have a temporary special that we're only making available to women who join this virtual class. And if you purchase the course today, you will only pay $197, and that's US dollars. Now, let me ask you this. If all you got from this was a practically pain-free birth for which you are prepared both physically and mentally, would that be worth it? If all this course did was to help you master the technique I've taught you today so that you're capable of relaxing through your contractions and working through them like a mighty mama, would it be worth it? How about if it helped your labor and delivery go smoother, thus avoiding interventions and potentially even a C-section? Would it be worth it? Or if all it did was empower you to have an amazing birth experience without the negativity and pain you so often hear about, would it be worth it? Well, in my humble opinion, I'd say it's more than worth it. But we're making it more so by including some amazing free bonuses. And these bonuses are worth more than what we're even charging for the birth course. The first free bonus we're including is our entire breastfeeding course called Breastfeeding the Mighty Mama Way. In this course, you will learn everything you need to know about breastfeeding so you can successfully breastfeed without going through the long and painful, and I mean that literally, journey many women have to go through before they figure things out. You will be able to teach your baby to latch on properly, which is absolutely key to having a success with breastfeeding. Avoid painful nipples and other horror stories that you've heard about breastfeeding. Ensure that you are breastfeeding properly so that you can build up your milk supply and have success. Maintain your milk supply for as long as you want to breastfeed, even if you go back to work. And use natural remedies for clogged ducts, engorgement, even mastitis. Can you imagine yourself cuddling your brand new baby in your arms as you calmly breastfeed him or her without questioning if you're doing it correctly, without constantly worrying that you'll have to supplement with formula because it's just not as easy as you thought it would be? Well, Breastfeeding the Mighty Mama Way will make that possible for you. Now, normally this breastfeeding course sells for $179 for people who buy it separately on our website. But as I said, we're including it completely free for you today as part of this incredible package that we're offering to women who join this class. I just want to let you in on a little behind the scenes information. Heather, who is an international board certified lactation consultant, or IBCLC, kept hearing about a popular breastfeeding course that many of her clients and some of our Mighty Mamas had gone through. And she wanted to check it out to see how it compared to Breastfeeding the Mighty Mama Way. So she purchased it and went through it and was shocked to find that the midwife teaching the course is not board certified and that much of the information and techniques she teaches are flat out wrong. So she reached out to other midwives and nurses in her network to see what their experience has been with this other method. And she got feedback from many people saying that they are seeing more and more women who are using that method struggle with breastfeeding because she teaches some incorrect information and techniques. Now, not all of what she teaches is incorrect, but she gets some important things wrong. But here's the thing, because these women have gone through that course, they're resistant to the help offered by IBCLCs from their local hospitals or birth centers because they understandably trust the course that they purchased. And so not only did they receive incorrect instruction in the first place, but then when they're struggling, they're sometimes skeptical about help offered by certified lactation consultants. Apparently, many nurses and midwives are seeing this happen, which is why Heather and I decided that we have to give Breastfeeding the Mighty Mama Way to everyone who joins the Mighty Mama movement, because we want to combat the damage that this other course is doing and ensure that our Mighty Mamas learn how to breastfeed correctly. Okay, I know that was kind of a long spiel about this first bonus. I just want to make sure that you understand how lucky you are to be getting not only the very best birth course out there, but also the very best breastfeeding course out there completely free. The next free bonus we are including is our Newborn Care Essentials course. Listen, having a healthy pregnancy and giving birth with practically no pain is just the first step on your journey to becoming a confident mother. But a lot of expecting parents don't think about what they're actually going to do with their baby once he or she is born. And let me tell you, they do not come with an instructions manual. So to help you out with that, Heather and I have put together a course with all the essentials you need in order to start off your parenting journey on the right foot. I won't take you the time to go through everything that we cover, but here are some highlights. We go over identifying common newborn ailments and whether or not you should be concerned, baby care basics such as how to care for your newborn skin, umbilical cord, fingernails, and more. We even show you how to properly change and bathe your baby, which is something that I actually didn't learn until Heather was teaching it in this course. So yeah, I was doing it wrong for a lot of years. We'll give you pro tips and tricks on how to soothe your baby when fussy. I assure you, you will be thanking me for that. And also give you some survival tips to help you get through the newborn phase. That is both one of the hardest and most delightful experiences you'll ever have as a parent. So to put it in a nutshell, we'll cover everything we wish someone had taught us before we were trying to figure it out, when we were taking care of our own babies. Now, you might be thinking you don't need this because caring for a newborn must be intuitive, as so many people have done over the ages. Or maybe this isn't even your first baby, so you're sure you've got it figured out. Well, let me just say that after caring for my 8 babies, I still learned from some of the things that Heather taught in this course, and she still learned from some of the things that I taught. So whether this is your first baby or your 5th, your life will be easier after going through this course. And let's not underestimate the value of having Dad learn all of this too. So the value of the Newborn Care Essentials when sold on its own is $147. But again, you get it completely free when you purchase the birth course today. And believe it or not, that's not all we're giving you. Check out all of these bonuses that we're including for women who purchase the course today. Now, normally these are all sold separately, but we're bundling them together in one amazing package today for this virtual class, including all of this. And remember, this is on top of the birth course package and everything that comes with it I already talked about, okay? So we've got Breastfeeding the Mighty Mama Way and Newborn Care Essentials. And then we also have Preparing for and Adjusting to Parenthood mini course, Helping Big Brother or Sister Adjust to New Baby mini course, How I Teach My Babies to Sleep Independently Without Crying It Out, which I'm pretty sure anyone who has ever had a newborn before, they would agree is priceless, and How to Use Yoga for Birth Preparation. The total value of all of this combined is $1,640 US dollars again. But that's not what we actually charge for this package. So even with all the bonuses included, the current price for people outside of this class is only $497. But as promised, your price today is only $197. And for those of you who may still be a little hesitant to sign up for an online course, we're giving you our Love It or Else money back guarantee. So this guarantee has 3 parts. 1, if for any reason you feel this course isn't the best $197 you've ever spent, just send my support team an email within 30 days and I'll gladly refund you every penny. 2, even if you just don't like the sound of my voice or the way I did my hair, if you're not perfectly thrilled with the course, I'll refund you every single penny within 30 days after purchase with no questions asked and no hard feelings. And 3, if you watch every video and implement all of the birth prep strategies and techniques that we teach, and then you give birth and you feel like the course just didn't help, then we'll give you a refund even if the 30 days refund window has passed. This is an amazing package that Heather and I have designed to help you. We sincerely want to help you have a positive and empowering experience giving birth. You will only give birth to this baby once, and we are sharing our knowledge and experience with you because we want your upcoming birth to be the best experience it can possibly be. That's why we've gone to all the effort of putting this powerful course into an online format where we can reach and help more women have the birth experience that we know they won't have without the necessary knowledge and preparation. Now listen, before I finish, I want to ask you a few questions. Why did you join this presentation today? Why did you stick around and listen to all I've said? Why are you here? It's because you have a beautiful baby inside your womb. And right now your baby is nice and cozy in there. But sooner or later, that little baby is going to have to come out. There's no way around it. One way or another, that baby is coming out of your body. And you know as well as I do that the process of getting a baby out of one's body isn't usually very pleasant. In fact, it's usually extremely painful. But you also know that you don't have to give birth the way women usually give birth. You don't have to have a typical painful birth. Instead, you can have a practically pain-free birth. You can cherish your upcoming birth. You can love it. You can enjoy it. Here at the Mighty Mama Movement, we've done our part to make that possible for you. We're teaching you everything you need to know and do in order to make that a reality for you. But our offering that to you isn't enough. You've got to do your part. You have to get the course, go through it, and implement what we teach you. I invite you to do so. you can click on the button on the screen or the link in the chat. Sometimes the button doesn't show up, so I'm going to put the link in the chat and the button should show up for you. Either one, click the button or click the link, and that's going to take you to a checkout page where you can get this deal. Now, you can't find this link with this deal by searching for it online. Okay, so you need to be sure that you get the link, click on this. The chat does close after I close the class, and so then you won't have it there. And when you go to purchase, you'll notice that you have a few options. You can pay with your credit card by entering your information there. If you do that, you can pay in full today, or you can choose 3 separate payments over the course of 3 months. And then also PayPal is an option there. So just make sure that you are doing the process right. If you have any questions, send an email to support@MightyMomMovement.com. I mean, with technology, there's always the chance that something is not going to work right, something's going to happen. So just reach out to us through email if you have any questions or any issues with the purchasing process. So go ahead and do that. The link is there. I am going to do Q&A, but you can go check out and get the course while I do that, or you can just open the window, keep it open, and stay here for Q&A for a few minutes, whatever works best for you. Now, I normally can't get to all the questions, so if I miss your question, just email us again. And I will focus on the most common questions. So, we do have limited time with this Q&A. So if you're asking a question that's not, as I skim through the questions, I'm seeing that's not a real typical common one. I might skip over it just in the interest of time. So please don't get offended. Just reach out via email and I'll get back to you. Okay, so let's do it. Let's get to some questions. Let's see. Oh, maybe I should turn my camera back on just for the last part here. I don't know if you guys care about that, but I will anyway. Hi. Okay, so Savannah is asking, will we get DVDs sent to us in the mail, or is this course online? Oh, okay, this is all online. It's digital. You access it from your computer, your phone, your tablet. And as soon as you purchase, you'll get immediate access, so you don't have to wait for anything to come in the mail. Meg says, how long will we have access? Okay, so a standard purchase comes with access for 1 year, which is obviously plenty for your pregnancy that you're on right now. If you think you might have another baby in the future, you can add lifetime access, and then you'll have access for the rest of your life. Let's see, Leilani wants to know if we teach about back labor. Of course we do. That's so important. You need to learn that. We teach about things you can do to avoid it. We teach about what you can do if you occasionally it can't be avoided. So how to cope with that and how your partner can help you as well. Is there anything in the course for my husband? Yes, since I just mentioned that. There is a whole module for your husband or your partner or whoever it is that's going to help you through your birth. This really, our husbands, our partners, they're really grateful for this information because they want to help. They want to feel useful and helpful, but usually they don't know how. So they're more like a decoration, trying to be helpful, which sometimes can even be a little annoying because the help they give isn't actually helpful. So we are really straightforward with them. We help them with visual, hands-on demonstrations with pregnant mamas. They're showing them how to do everything and teach them how to actually really help you reduce the pain of your labor. So it's good for them and it's really good for you. Let's see. I'm 37 weeks along. Do I still have time to use this? Yes, you do. Now, if you're getting close to your due date, 37, 38, 39, we do have women buy this course that far along in their pregnancy. You're not going to be able to implement absolutely everything because some things you should have started earlier. But you really still have time to impact your birth for good. You have time to make some changes in what your birth is going to end up like. So don't give up and be like, oh, it's too late. Maybe next birth, I can't do it this time. You can still learn and shape this birth to be much better than what it will be if you don't get the course. Okay. Let's see, if I need to be induced for medical reasons, will I still benefit from this? Yes. Like I said earlier, I don't want to scare you with the stories I shared. But they're true, and you need to know the truth, okay? But if you do need to be induced, you can still have a great birth experience. I shared, I think, Maria's birth experience. She was induced and a first-time mom. She still had a practically pain-free birth. We have a lot of other women who have to be induced and still have practically pain-free births. Me too. So don't let that scare you. We'll talk to you about that in the course of how to handle that knowledge and prepare for that and what you need to do. And really, it's that much more reason that you need to be proactive, because an induction is harder. So you have that extra challenge, and it's so much more important for you to be proactive and do everything you can to prepare for your birth. Okay. I noticed that most of the pictures you showed are of women doing water births. Does this only apply to women who give water births? No, I love water births, but a lot of women who go through a program don't want one, or they can't have one. Maybe the hospital that they're in doesn't do it. It's great if you can do it. It's great if you want to do it, but you don't. That's not like a requirement. Okay, do I have access after Persevere's weekly class? Yeah, it's not like we're releasing classes, every week, a new class. It's all on demand. As soon as you get the course, you can start going through it immediately. So if you are later on in your pregnancy, you can get started right away and go as fast as you want. Will this work for moms of twins? I've never given birth to twins before, but we do have women in our program who have, and Heather has experience with that. And my understanding is that giving birth to twins vaginally is pretty similar to giving birth to one baby, except that once you get that first baby out, there's another one who has to come out. And sometimes there's repositioning that needs to happen and things like that. But if you're planning to give birth vaginally with twins, please get this course. That's all I can say. Okay, will this help me even if my partner won't watch it with me? Yes. If, the ideal, I got to be honest with you, the ideal is that your partner would watch like the whole course with you. I love it when they do that. I can't imagine I would have ever been able to get my husband to watch a whole birth course with me, and a lot of women are that way. And some don't even have a partner. Some are single mamas, and that's okay. We do say that if you have a partner who's going to be helping you through birth, which we hope most women will have somebody who's going to help them, that they will watch. There's 2 modules, module 3 and module 9. And we hope that, module 6 and module 9. And we hope that you can get them to just watch those. And most partners are going to be willing to just watch those 2 modules. You can tell them you don't have to watch the whole course, if they're not really wanting to. But again, if you don't even have a birth partner, someone to help you through, it's okay. You can totally do this. But once again, you have an extra challenge. So you got to get the course. You've got to be proactive. You really need to go through this program. And then let's see, I'll take one last one here. I have high risk pregnancy. Will this still be applicable? Yes, it will. Like I said before, anyone with an added challenge, it's just that much more important that you take control of the things that you can control, that you are proactive, that you do everything you can do to improve the outcome of your birth experience, okay? Sometimes those high risks turn out to cause problems. But women who have that happen are still grateful to have prepared, still grateful for all that they learned, still grateful for how much it helped them and empowered them. And don't assume that any potential risk is going to cause problems. It might, but it might not. And the more proactive you are, the less likely it will be to do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close Q&A. We are definitely out of time. And I will, let's see, the chat kind of moves while I talk. So I'm going to put the link in the chat again so that you have that. Get the course, mamas. Give birth with practically no pain. Love your birth. Please do it. And again, if you have questions, just reach out to email. And I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. Not necessarily immediately. Usually when these classes end, I'm busy and you have to do other things and everything, but I will get back to you. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking the time to be here. And I hope to see you in the Mighty Mama movement and to soon be reading your positive birth experience in the Facebook group. Bye.